Hey, it's Thomas11 back with blade buffs again. Like with shield hammers and twin rings, I am covering Bitballs again with new and updated ideas on buffing them. So the issue with Bitballs is that they are very healing focused blades in a game that doesn't like dedicated healing. So to buff them, we're going to be giving them other support options on top of healing so that they can be more general support, and you run them for the support and not pure healing. You just have healing on the side. This way you could still have a healer, but they're not being used for their healing. And we're only going to be covering Boreas, Vess, and Floren, because Dahlia was already covered in the Twin Rings episode, since, as I've said, she should have been a Twin Ring blade instead of a Bitball. And then Crosset needs no buffs whatsoever. Crosset is already perfect. So we'll start out with Boreas. Boreas' niche is that he is the bulky healer. He's got pretty big defenses for a healer blade with 20% physical and 30% ether defense, and a 15% HP mod to make his driver bulkier too. He's also got an evasion buff on his own. So for Boreas' buffs, first we're going to be swapping some special effects. His level 1 special should get the effect of his level 2 special, restores 20% of damage dealt, which restores HP equivalent to 20% of damage dealt. And then his level 2 special should become the level 3 effect of restores HP to the whole party. For his new level 3 special, we're going to be giving him something similar to Corvin. So you know how Corvin has Ghost Walker as his level 3 special? That you get to evade 6 hits when using the special, after using the special. So for Boreas, we're going to be making it Ghost Factory. Every party member evades 2 hits after using this special. So Corvin has Ghost Walker, Boreas gets Ghost Factory. Instead of only applying 6 hits to yourself, it's 6 hits spread out among the party with 2 hits each for each party member. This way, you could use him for evasion support, to just spam this special for lots of evasion buffs, and then you still have healing on the side. And then this is an absolutely worthless skill. There's just no reason to have this. This will never activate. You're not going to be killing enemies with Boreas. He's a healer, he's not doing much damage. And you just don't need the extra healing anyway because his specials and arts already cover that. So I'm going to replace this with, at max affinity, increases evasion of the whole party by 15%. So he's already got this, 45% at max affinity for himself, and then add 15% to the whole party on top of that. This will make Boreas really evasion bulky, and also allow him to give more evasion support to the whole party. It's not going to be as big as Mithra's buff, but it would be something that you could add on to that so that you have even more evasion on top of the Mithra buff, or I think Shulk also has a similar buff. So this way you could just run Boreas as another support on top of that for really evasion heavy parties. And maybe since we're adding 15% onto this, reduce this one down to 35% on its own, since you will have the 15% combined with it. And this one, this is an okay effect. I wouldn't change anything about this. I would just add on to this spike damage. When an enemy hits you, they get knockback and spike damage. So spike damage guaranteed, keep the 50% chance of knockback. Not going to be a big deal since Boreas isn't going to be getting aggro and getting hit much anyway, but just in case he ever is hit, just a little bonus of spike damage. Not really too much of an effect, just extra little bonus for him. Next on to Vess. Vess's niche is sort of being, I guess, the more offensive Bitball blade. Crosset is obviously the offensive one, and Vess is just kind of the glass cannon, I guess. She's got critical rate, and that's about it, though. She doesn't have much going for her. She has no physical defense at all, and weirdly, she has an HP mod. She's just very strange. It's hard to know what's going on with Vess. So keep this the same. So for Vess's buffs, we're going to be making her more offensive support. So for her level 2 special, this effect would be replaced with, when using the special, increases the party's physical damage by maybe 10-15%. It would be multiplicative, so 10% would already be pretty big, I feel. So maybe just 10%. 10% increase to party's physical damage for, let's say, 10 seconds. I'm not sure on how long it should really last. I feel like 10 seconds is enough, since you could just spam the specials. And then for her level 3, the same effect, but for ether damage. Increases the party's ether damage by 10% for 10 seconds. So this is something that Xenoblade 2 is fairly lacking in, is attack buffs. Attack and defense buffs, really. There's just lots of passive increases to damage, but there's not a lot to temporarily buff your damage. So I would make Vess the offensive buffer. I'm not really sure what to do about her skills. Can't think of much to do for her skills. Maybe, since she already has this for... You would be taking this away, and it's not like a bad effect. It's just kind of niche, I guess. So maybe replace this with increases damage to machines, because it's not like it would be a major effect, but you might as well give something better than this, because this is awful. This is just absolutely worthless. Hunter's chemistry completely invalidates this. Anything with raising affinity is just completely invalidated by having Hunter's chemistry exist. So just replace this with her machine damage up effect, really. That's all I can say for Vess. Oh wait! There is a major buff to give Vess. Cut this down to 50 instead of 100. Why do you need to make so many dumplings? Not dumplings, rice balls. How dare you call them dumplings? Why were they called dumplings? What was wrong with the localization? We have moved past this long time ago. The world knows what rice balls are. The world knows what onigiri is. Even if you don't know the term onigiri, you know they're called rice balls at least. Anyway, Vess rant over. And lastly, Floren. So Floren is like the really, really dedicated to healing blade, which is pretty useless because all the Bitballs are already really good at healing, so he doesn't need to be any better at healing. So we'll take that idea and make him more defense buff focused, whereas Vess is the offensive buff, and Boreas is the evasion buff. We will make Floren the defensive buff. So for his level 1 special, make this barrier, damage barrier. So the same as Affinity Max Barrier Aux Core effect. So make this a special effect also, where when you use the special, it applies damage barrier for the party. Maybe 10%, so it's not nearly as strong as the Aux Core, since you can spam it. So 10% damage barrier effect, and level 2, keep that the same. For his level 3, we will make that a doubles defensive stats of all blades on the party, defensive stats of the party. So this would be a really big effect if you're running more defensive parties, but not much of an effect if you're running glass cannon blades with low defenses. So for example, Floren himself, he has 5% physical defense. After using the special for 10 seconds, he would then have 10% physical defense and 70% ether defense, since he has 35% ether defense already. So for 10 seconds, doubles the defensive stats of the party. This, I guess we can just keep it, because really not much better to replace with, I guess. This is the really bad skill. There's just... why? You shouldn't be getting incapacitated much, and even if you do, this isn't going to make much of a difference, because you can just full heal them anyway thanks to this. So I'll replace this with, at max affinity, reduces ether damage taken by the party by 10%. So on top of his already big ether defense and the ability to double defenses, he would just reduce ether damage taken by the party by 10% at max affinity. And this way he's got lots of defensive options for reducing damage on everyone. And this way you could run more risky, I guess, blades, you could run more risky party compositions, and you could run, I forget the name of the item, but it increases damage taken while increasing damage dealt. So that would be really good to run with Floren for this. Not on Floren himself, but on your other party members, since he would be covering for reducing your damage taken. And then this, I would just add on to this. We don't need to remove the effect. I mean, the effect is mediocre as it is, but you can keep the effect and add on to this. Increases the effect of damage barrier by 1.5. So this way you would apply to Affinity Max Barrier equipped on Floren, as well as his level 1 special to increase it from 10% damage barrier to 15% damage barrier. That's all I've got for Floren. Just make him really good for buffing the defenses of the party so that you can run stuff like that item that I forget the name of that increases damage dealt and taken. That way you could run it with Floren for some big defense buffs to cover for the increased damage you'd be taking. So next episode will be the final episode of Blade Buffs before Xenoblade 3 comes out. I'll be covering the last healer blade again. Healer blade that's the best healing blade, but really bad because they are the best healing blade. So, if you watch the end, then comment Blossom Dance down below, and see you next time!